Started out calm and song, subtle for the way, the sense to compassion. It's a verb for the only to be written for your heart. For the word is dead, for can bring about a miracle for the compassion. And love and invisible for the just to destroy yourself, and not for the human earth. For the mother earth this is also the body for the take that to the bank. The truth lies in you for the just all. You are life for the one consciousness, and deprivating of the entire universe in yourself for the stone, glaze, blade, a glass. Look for the people for you can find a person never ever start. For the galaxy of your sense deep enough for the inner all reality for the sense of you are. Tendency to look for the people who live for the tolerance and the compassion, but you had to look at things. For between the flower and the bees, and where are no flowers, and there's no bees, and there are no bees, and there is no flowers. I find my organism. Same way nature depends upon you and everybody else of the road. Action never could be the seat for the search for the truth of the fires. The suffering become the light for the consciousness, and you have the only unique flaw. I can never crawl through the crack pots, and not with the cracks and the flaws, and never made that live together for the so very interested enough of the reward of it. You just need that for the taking a look of the person for the what you had the good enough for the this to be the different for the rest. For the people in your life calming, it allows us to rest, and resting get a precondition for the healing for the animals in your forest, and get it wounded for rest, and I can find what's wounded for the place to down. Rest completely for many days, in many ways, and not to think about the food for anything and not anything else, and for the getting, the healing, and healing for the word, for the even to get sick, and enough for the word, for the what you can find in doctors and medicine, we don't stop. And even when we go to the beaches and we are the mountains for the vacation, we don't rest, and we come for the home where they're tired before resting, silence, and never-ending speech. Obstructs that for this only silence, and this is the only speech is silence for the intimate, for the contact, for the surrounding. This is the only the communicating for the thoughts, and the silence for speaking. Thanks and add for the pain, pleasure for your river to flow. Also when the mind to refuse, flow with the life when you get stuck in the bank. It becomes a problem not for the thought, for nature, for the discovery for who you are, the ocean eternal, for the pieces within you, for the so I can find the discovery. Or difficulty enough for the seeking a piece elsewhere else, and this is the piece in the incarnate itself and the essential for the deep. Allow yourself to practice what reflects things to go as they are, for never therefore to be, for the deeper contact with ourselves, and there's all around it for the stars in here. Maybe to catch yourself spinning at the voices in your head for which you found at the antics of a child. For you no longer taking the content for the mind, for just depending on it for the time for the thinking about and actually listening. Whether we believe in God and then for that, for this believing in God wanted to know, when you believe in that for the communism, believe in no God can want that for the difference of this and whoever whatsoever. For they believe in God for not perish and have everlasting life. For this is my Lord, my Father, my Savior, my Christ, my not to do nothing and breathe and just believe like a tree to leave and live, and just a sample practice of the sitting quiet enough for the regular basis, profound enough for the healing, for the stopping yourself with the stick, and goodbye for the way for the focus on the mind for the breathing, and nothing else. And that was the fact and wish and liberation to find the freedom of the world, to find upon it to all the real, for the nature for the freshly acquired, and I can be the necessary to get rid of the false notions for your sights and sees. Peace and not for feeling the silence in the hills and the environment was nourishing. Here's the love for this only not exist. For this is love for self. For this is never the over this love for the body for truth. For this is the love for yourself for the beloved. Prepare yourself in effortless and becoming essential for you with a certain. No pain and gain is necessary to find this oxymoronic truth. Subtle for the way, the sense to compassion. It's a verb for the only to be written for. Come to mind. Come to mind. Everything happens. All in control. Know your power, know truth. It's yourself made whole. Be drifting in joy, bursting out of your sight. have to be afraid to think too much. You have serious moves with an empty mind. Rain falling upon the roof of the house of fleas, and flows and down with the breeze and grows through the sprouts and shape grotesquely for the tiger's head. And you can find an impression the water come for you. I can find the mouth of dead. Descend for the sky. Same ways the holy teaching came for the mouth of the godly men, for the seeming enough to be uttered, for these to be themselves, for the reality you perceive, and this to be desired you can also see as well, for the mind is quite enough for well, you can drink with the water, for the daughter, for the this to be the martyr, for the diddly. The rose never pretends enough of the beauty. It's what is rain falling upon that roof of the house flows down to the ground for the sprouts of shape. Impression after that comes from fixing silence and establishing what your inner eye could be. World I'll never be defined, retail, profound enough that you profounded upon your tranquility within. Gather your thoughts and not define the strength and not the thought for the center for the self, eloquent enough for the storm to be turmoil, calm and be present and silent and watch the events around as a witness. The world is drama to be a witness and then turn to an introspective for the I could be the projective. But not define a slang or any demon for the demonstrated before, but the me at the word for the use that in front of the sword, for there was a lie for the blood for the heart of the rivers are down the falling for the waters are rapidly repeating actions seem significant enough for the signals that you can lay upon. Upholding your doubt for the tongues of trial, you find dropping a habit bits of the home with the home. The holding no for the defined possessions and session, for the season I can find the reasons. Easing to exchange and expose your former models. Mind if I fled for the fleeting and what I'm fed up with the up like packages and packed that for the age and never the first in mind to cool enough for the cold firepower your outdated energy source. Forced and depleted for the deployment. Intention with the campsite for the scenery for the senses and enough for the be the death for the deprivations and the privately pried out for the wilderness need to find it here to save the soundly for the death for the appetizer food for thought for this to be bought for like your EBT for the last of the death for the deputy for the croutons in your salad balance and bell. Advertise. Adversity. Clown cities, council, men, countries, and laws. We ride not for rivalry, variable able to find a reinstate for the rain. Power or lower standards to sit upon your subjects, and this to still be the blame. Inject opinion for the opposing your voice. You could not find the lifting of the words like helium to hell's gates and negating the fate. Fatal was attraction to cultivate your attractive reform to the bearer for the themselves for the exclusively, and lucid for the lucid dreams of the lucid, and place that for the reality for the perception. No examples of organism. Exemptions and amplified enough for the infidelities. Vital deities that was weighed down your gravity for the holding of the orbital for the conscious and valleys, and don't be validated in your permits to depart in our dark and not hard to find a place of the fear that you can't read the signs to take the clock. Ask no patience than patents to pat you on the back for the baby that burps you. Find a bib and this and dips it on the nipple for the nipple that every yellow to butcher other hard enough that I can find an area to the circumference of their out find an outcome for the environment for the eyes of the men, for the men, and the members of the atom, and for enough of the dormants and the atoms and trees of the forbidden buds and oxygen for the oxygen. Action pays its curse, the prize and paid for the paybacks, and I can find an ancestral celestial starter for the how far we come from the light to the heavy hours to make up for the big. I can find the ugly face of Mary Kay for the virgin for the marriage of Cain. I can find a carriage missing enough for the cross that nail for the near. Standing for the citation you ever seen, enough for the love for the justice, the court for the anger, the scene. Destiny. Marriage union before that became undone. I'm buying for the battle books and alimony for the current is just enough money for the enriching, not for the harmony, for the not for leaving their Armageddon for the different good why the incidents is gonna get down, death, deprived, death, arrival enough for all for the blankets and mindset for the blank stares and aired out for their kingdoms for the to come to forefathers and whatever the man they forget. Knowing rather than remember the ringers and fingers and over the pointing out the what they're pointed to peel. Interest in what you can find cross top to like the cathedrals, and then never the path that I had to roll the ladder for the Jacobs, and you can find the brother for the shepherd for the sheep, but they heard it over the empty prayers and falling angels, and you can find angels enough for the coming of the first and to the be second of ages, and but you can find agitated for the legislative men for the mates and reason for the relativity. Waters that would dehydrate or dye your colors to find them. Come to find your pieces. Everything Everything happens. All in control of existence. Know your pride and your made home. Be dripping in joy. Bursting out of your eyes. Oh, you don't have to be afraid. You have serious moves. Oh, rain falling upon the roof of the house of fleece, and flows down with the breeze and grove and through the sprouts and shape grotesquely from the tiger's head. But you can find an impression of water comfort you. I can find a mouth of dead. Sent from the sky. The same ways the old teaching came from the mouth of the godly men, for the seeming enough to be uttered, for these to be themselves, for the reality to perceive, and this to be desired. You can also sleep as well, for the mind is quiet enough for well. You can drink with the water, for the daughter, for the this to be the water, for the beauty. A rose never pretends enough for the beauty. So what is rain falling upon that roof of the house, closing down to the ground for the sprouts of shape. Impression enough for the comes from fixing silence and establishing what your inner eye could be. World I'll never be defined. Tell profound enough that you profounded upon your tranquility within. Gather your thoughts and not define the strength and not thought for the center for the self, eloquent enough for the storm to be turmoil and calm and be present and silent to watch the events around as a witness. The world is drama to be a witness, and it turn to an introspective for the I could be the projective. Not define a slang or any demon for the demonstrated before me at the word for the use that in front of the sword, for there was alive for the blood for the heart of the rivers, down the falling for the waters, rapidly repeating axes seem significant enough for the signals and you can lay upon. Upholding your down for the tongues of try. You can find dropping your habits and bits of the home with the hung. The holding for the defined possessions and sessions, but it's easy I can find the reasons. Easing to exchange and expose your former models. Modify flat for the fleeting and what I'm fed up with the up like packages and packed out for the age and never the first in mind to cool enough for the cold firepower of your outdated energy source. Forced and depleted for the deployment. Intention with the campsite for the scenery, for the senses and enough to be the death for the deprivations, then we pride out for the little bits need to find it here to save the sound for the appetizer food for thought for this of evolve for like your UBT for the last of the death dating for the croutons in your salad balance in your bell. Advertising, adversity. Clown cities, council, men, countries and laws. We ride natural rivalry, variable able to find a reinstate for the rain. Power or lower standards to sit upon your subjects, and this is still be blamed. Inject opinion for the uppers in your voice. It could not find the lifting of the words like helium to hell's gates and negating the fate. Fatal was attraction to cultivate the attractors, reformers, to the bearer for the themselves for the exclusive, elusive for the lucid dreams and the lucid, and place that for the reality for the perception. No examples and orgasm. Exemptions and amplified enough for the infidelities. Find or deity that would weigh down your gravity for the holding of the orbital for the conscious and valleys, and they'll be validated in your permits and your parking in our dark and night. Hard to find a place to fear that you can't read the signs and take the clock. Has no patience and patents to pat you in the back for the baby the purpose of you. Find a bib and this and dibs and on the nipple for the nipple and every yoda of the butcher of the heart enough that I can find an area to the circumference of the round and find an outcome for the environment for the eyes of the mental for the mental, the members of the atom, and for the enough for the dormants and the atoms and trees of the forbidden buds and oxygen for the arcs and action pages, curses, rise and paid for the paybacks and I can find an ancestral celestial starter for the how far we come for the light to the heavy hours to make up for the bigger. I can find the ugly face of Mary Kay for the virgin for the marriage of Kay. I can find the carriage missing enough to cross that nail for the near. Standing for the citation you ever seen enough for the love for the justice to court for the hanger for the scene. Destiny. Mirror and rage and union before that became undone, unbind for the books and alimony for the current is less enough money for the enriching, not for the harmony, for the not for leaving Armageddon for the living in your wife and incidents is Armageddon. Doubt, death, pride, death, arrival another dawn for the blankets and mindset for the blank stares and air that for the kingdoms for the to come to before fathers and whatever the man to forget. Knowing rather than remembering the ringers and fingers and over the pointing out the what they're pointing to peel. Interest in which you can find cross tops like complete cathedrals, and then never the path of that or the ladder for the Jacobs, and you can find a brother for the shepherd for the sheep that they herded over the empty prayers and falling angels, and you can find angels enough for the coming of the first and to the be second of ages, and but you can find it agitated for the legends of the men for the mates and reason for the relativity. Waters that would dehydrate or dye your colors to the vulnerability. Come to life, find your peace and everything perfect. All in control, existence in you. Know your power. May all be dripping in joy. Settle for the way the sense passionate to verb for the only to be written. Your heart for the word is dead, for can bring about a miracle for the compassion. Love and invisible for the just to destroy yourself, but not for the human earth, for the mother earth is also the body for the take that to the bank. The truth lies in your for this and all. You are life for the one consciousness and derivating of the entire universe in itself for the stone, clay, blade, glass. Look for the people for you can find a person every star for the galaxy of your sense deep enough for the inner all reality for the sense of you are. Genesis, look for the people who live for the tolerance and the compassion, but you had to look at these between the flower and the bees, and where are no flowers, so there's no bees, and there are no bees, and there's no flowers. I find one more. Same way nature depends upon you and everybody else of the road. Action never could be the BC for the search for the truth, for the fire to suffer, become the life of the consciousness, and you have the only unique flaw. You can never crawl through the crack pots, and not the cracks and the flaws, and never made that live together for the soul, ever interested enough of the reward for you. Just need that for the taking look of the person for the what you had good enough for the just be different for the rest. Or the people in your life calming and allows us to rest, and resting you the precondition for the healing for the animals in your forest and getting booming to the full rest, and I can find what's wounded for the place to down. Rest completed for many days, many ways, and not to think about the food for anything and not anything else, and for the getting, the healing, and healing for the word for the even to get sick, and enough for the word for the what you can find in doctors and medicine. We don't stop. And even when we go to the beaches and we are the monsters for the vacation, we don't rest and we come together for the home where they're tired before resting, silence, and never-ending speech. Abstract that for this only silence, and this is the only speech is silence for the intimate, for the contact for the surrounding. This is the only the communicating for the thoughts and the silence for speaking. Banks and add for the pain, pleasure for your river to flow, and else someone in mind to refuse. Love of the life when you get stuck in the bank. It becomes a problem, not for thought, for nature, for discovery, for who you are, the ocean eternal, for the pieces within you, for the dickens. I can find the discovery. Or difficulty enough for the seeking a peace elsewhere else, and this is the peace in the incarnate itself and the essential for the deep. Allows yourself to practice what reflects things to go as they are, for never there for it to be, for the deeper contact with ourselves, and lives all around it, for the stars in here. Maybe to catch yourself spinning at the voices in your head for what you found at the antics of a child, for you no longer taking the content for the mind, for this depending on it, for the time for the thinking about and actually listening. Whether we believe in God and for that, for this believing in I wanted to know, and you really believe in that for the communism, believe in no I can want that for the difference of this and whoever whatsoever believe in God for not perish and have everlasting life, for this is my Lord, my Father, my Savior, my Christ, mine. Not to do nothing and breathe and just believe. Like a tree to leave and live, and this is a sample practice of the sitting quiet enough for the record, amazing, profound enough for the healer, for stopping yourself with the stick. Goodbye for the way, for the focus on the mind and the breathing, and nothing else. And that was a fact. Wish and liberation, divine and freedom, people find it, find it to the all the real, for the nature of the freshly acquired. I can be necessary to get rid of the false notions of just sights and seas. Peace and not the ceiling, the silence of the hills and the environment is nourishing. Here's the love for this only, not this is. For this is love for self, for this never there, for this love for the body, for truth. This is the love of yourself and be loved. Hear yourself and effortless and become an essential for you, but a certain no pain and gain is necessary to find.